On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County, welcome to this general election candidate forum with candidates running for Pierce County Charter Review Commission District 1. My name is Sasha Erickson and I will be the moderator today. We also have Terry Baker here with us, who will be the timer. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government. Our mission is defending democracy and empowering voters. We hold candidate forums as a service to the public to provide voters with an opportunity to compare and contrast individual candidates before casting their votes. The League also influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League is open to any person age 16 and older who subscribes to the purposes and policies of the League and includes men as well as women. Before we begin the opening statements and questions, I will give the land acknowledgement. The League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County wishes to acknowledge that we gather on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish peoples, surrounded by their traditional waters, in the shadow of Mount Tahoma. We actively seek inclusive and respectful partnerships that honor Indigenous cultures, histories, identities, and current realities. Once again, the candidates today are for Pierce County Charter Review Commission District 1. Before we begin, the candidates have been given ground rules in advance, which include, among other provisions, that they will adhere to the rules of common courtesy and will not comment on the other candidates, but will focus on the issues, and that there will be no additional recordings made of this forum. Could you please confirm with a thumbs up or a nod that each of you has agreed to our ground rules? As a reminder, please remember.
Are we frozen? Are we frozen?
Answer and may finish short sentences once the timer stops, but may not continue to speak after that. All candidates will be asked the same questions and have the same amount of time to answer. Terry Baker has shown the timer, so let's begin. The candidates for Pierce County Charter Review Commission District 1 Towns, Sharon, Hanek. Position 3, Jerome O'Leary, Tamara Stramel. Each candidate will give an opening statement of up to 2 minutes. At the end, the candidates will give closing statements of up to 1 minute. We'll start first with Kelsey Barrans, who will give an opening statement. Kelsey, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to start by thanking the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. I think it's such an important part of our entire process that people have as much information as possible about the candidates that they are selecting, and I just really appreciate this time. So to give people a little bit of information about me, I am a practicing social worker. I've been in the field for about 16 years, serving both survivors of domestic violence as well as students at a local community technical college who are dealing with basic needs and security. And it's through that work that I really am passionate about making sure that the folks whose voices are often left out of conversations, the people who are the most impacted by policy decisions and by the work of our local government, have a voice in what that local government looks like. And so my entire goal with hopefully being a representative for District 1 on the Charter Review Commission is to be able to bring the voices of the community into that charter review process. I think that it is our local community that is going to have the most expansive view of what the charter review process might be, and that it needs to be something that truly reflects the needs of the entire district. And so it is my goal to be able to meet with folks in different leadership positions, meet with faith leaders, meet with folks who are in schools, in social clubs, to make sure that is the voice of the community that I would be bringing with me to that charter review. Like I said before, I'm just really glad to get to be here tonight, and I hope that everyone is able to get all their questions answered. Again, my name is Kelsey Barrans, and I'm running for Charter Review District 1, Position 1.
Thank you, Kelsey. Now, Steve McCoy, your opening statement, please.
Hi, my name is Steve McCoy. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm just a citizen, a lifetime citizen. I was born in Fort Lewis, raised here in Pierce County. My understanding, which I wasn't really familiar with what the charter was, is that the charter sets the tone for our county. I think the charter should be for the benefit of all people. I think we should have a safe place to live. I'd like to see affordable housing. I'd like to see it friendly to businesses here. Now, the charter doesn't address those directly, but it does set the tone, the groundwork for how the government works to protect those rights of all people, not some, but it should protect everybody and enabling people to find jobs in the county, enabling people to live their lives, to raise their families in the county without fear of being broken into or molested. So, since the charter is such a critical part, essentially our county constitution, I thought I would step in, raise my hand, and run as a citizen to see if we couldn't protect people's rights and make it continue to make Pierce County a place that everybody'd like to live in.
Thank you, Steve. Now, Nathaniel Downs, your opening statement, please.
I moved into this county a little over 10 years ago. I was always in District 1, but I saw the border go from literally 100 feet from where my house was to almost 4 miles away. That's dilution of the voice for people on the eastern side of our county. And I went to check the charter to see why, and I noticed several sections are now are actually 45 years old. We really need to look at those sections, see what needs to be updated to address today's needs. Pierce County is twice as many people in it than it did in 1980. We really need to have a charter that can handle a larger population, a growth population. That was mostly my thought.
All right. Thank you, Nathaniel. Now, Sharon, Hanek, your opening statement, please.
Good. Good evening for everyone, and thank you so much for having this forum. The charter itself is a little known document, and I'm hoping that more people will be able to see and learn what the charter is about through this process that you have given us. I have been in the charter review. I was the chair of the charter review committee 10 years ago. Once the charter was created, every 10 years, they do have a new election to bring in people to look at the charter, which is the Constitution, with fresh eyes. And I just really want to have this opportunity to be, I guess, reelected to this role. As charter review chair last year, we tried to make the process as transparent and open to the citizens as we could. And we invite everyone to participate, bring in their ideas, and we learn together how to keep this a fresh document, and in a way it could change every 10 years. And I think 10 years is a really good gap to allow for this kind of approach. The charter itself touches many different sections. One of them is redistricting. Another section might be the initiative process. Another is just about budgets, how they handle that. And most important is the composition of the council. And I believe that with the experience that I've had both in many of those areas as redistricting commissioner, sitting on planning commission and in many boards, helped me to bring a little bit more experience and guidance in governance to the governance in Pierce County to this role. And I believe that I can be of a great asset along with my accounting background to, again, review and polish up this charter for 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. And now, Jerome O'Leary, your opening statement, please.
Good evening. I'm Jerome O'Leary, and I'm running for the Charter Review Commission. I was born and raised here in Pierce County, and I've been a lifelong resident. Pierce County is where my wife, Christy, and I are raising our daughter, Kate. It's where our businesses are, and it's our home. I've been in the construction and real estate industry here for over 30 years. I've had the opportunity to work with local, regional, and national companies, both large and small. I'm also active in our fourth generation Christmas tree farm. Pierce County has given me great opportunities, and I have a deep understanding and passion for the community. I am committed to giving back through service, and I have always believed that being involved is the best way to help, the best way to have an impact, and the best way to affect change if needed. I've been a member of the South Hill Rotary Club and past president for over 30 years. I've served on nonprofit boards, including the Puyallup-Sumner Chamber, Puyallup Food Bank, and St. Francis House. At Pierce County, I've served on the Conservation Futures Board, the Transportation Commission, and I currently chair the Ag Commission. Recently, I've been appointed by Executive Mello and unanimously approved by the Council to the Planning Commission. The charter is a framing document of our county and only gets reviewed once every 10 years. I believe it's extremely important, and I also believe the county is facing some serious challenges. When this opportunity came up, I felt compelled to serve. After discussion with my family and with their support, I became a candidate. I'm running because I believe the charter should reflect transparency and accountability, and also the community values and needs. We need to ask the tough questions to address the challenges facing our citizens today, and we also need to plan for the future. I feel I have the skills, experience, and community knowledge to serve on this commission effectively and represent the citizens in the best way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. Now, Tamara Stramel, your opening statement, please.
Hi, I'll just echo really fast that I am very appreciative for this opportunity. I think it is our only opportunity for all of us together to talk about the charter. And so I really appreciate the League of Women Voters for making it happen. I moved to Pierce County in 2018, growing up in Carson City, Nevada, and then spending my 20s touring this beautiful country that we have, living in all of the time zones within the continental United States. And I moved to Washington when my husband got stationed up in Everett. And then after he became a veteran, we looked for a place that we really wanted to call home to raise our kids and to stay in for a long time. And that's when we found Pierce County. Since being here, I have jumped into serving my community in the ways that I have felt most drawn to, particularly in my children's school. It has been many years now that I have been our book fair chair, and now I am on our PTA board, both at the middle school and the elementary school where my kids are. Along with that, I've also been an executive board member on a civic organization here in the Pierce County District 1 for 7 years, trying to always get more people involved in our local elections. And I didn't have any idea that this charter process existed until someone asked me about it this spring and suggested perhaps that I put my name in the hat. I said yes, because I really do enjoy talking about civics, and I feel very passionately if more citizens were involved in all steps of this process in Pierce County and the country, that our government would be better served. I look forward to really listening to District 1 and being a voice, if on the commission, for the residents out here in East Pierce County. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. Now we will begin the questions. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond. The candidate speaking first on each question will rotate. I will ask all the questions, and since Kelsey Barrans gave the first opening statement, we will begin question 1 with Steve McCoy. Question 1, in your opinion, what are the most significant issues that the Pierce County Charter must address in the next 2 years? Steve, go ahead.
All right. So I think that government's first and primary role is to protect the citizens. And like I said, providing a safe place to live. The government is a representative of the people. And so having a system of government that serves the people and serves the growth that we're experiencing. There are issues that only the county can deal with as far as legislatures, but we provide in the charter review the foundational principles for that legislative government to operate. So for us to look at and protect the way that the the distribution or the diversity of power so it doesn't get centralized, I think is very critical.
Thank you. Same question for Nathaniel Downs. In your opinion, what are the most significant issues that the Pierce County Charter must address in the next 2 years?
The most significant issues that I can think are dealing with the original text of the document being a lot of hand-me-down material from the King County Charter from back in 1980. It doesn't really reflect today's reality here in Pierce. We need to decide, well, we need to decide what we want to update. We need to decide where we want to go and how we want to make this county stand apart. Because too many times it's King County and the other two next to it. We're not just King Jr. We are Pierce. We have Rainier. We have Tacoma. We deserve to have our own language, our own framework. And I want to see us update accordingly.
Okay, thank you, Nathaniel. And the same question for Sharon. Hanek. In your opinion, what are the most significant issues that the Pierce County Charter must address in the next 2 years?
I think one of the issues is the oversight and the guidance of the makeup of the council. I know that there were questions in the past. Some folks may want partisan, nonpartisan for all offices. Some people like the partisanship. Another one would be term limits or not having term limits or guidance on that, appointed and elected officials. Those are some of the things that were brought up 10 years ago. I think they've always been brought up in every type of charter, wherever there's in the 7 charter counties. But that's one of the big issues that I think is something that we have to look at and review and make sure that we're making the right decisions and that those decisions are going to be the right fit for the county. The other thing I would like to add, though, is there are some things coming up, such as redistricting, that happens every 10 years. But over the next 2 years, there are some things that could be fine-tuned. Actually how the charter is governed and how the redistricting commission is governed is set in the charter. And it'd be nice to have a little bit more clarity and how things should be run so that people can just get off and get going right away.
All right. Thank you, Sharon. Same question for Jerome O'Leary. In your opinion, what are the most significant issues that the Pierce County Charter must address in the next 2 years?
Well, thank you. I do believe there needs to be some more clarity in the language of the charter as it relates to some of the executive branch operational items. I think there's a bit of a disconnect, or maybe the description isn't as clear as it could be. So I'd love to see that looked at. The beauty of it is, as I understand it, we're going to have an attorney helping us on the commission, and I'm excited to sit down with others and hear their ideas and then have that vetted through the legal process to see how that could be worded to make it a little bit more clear, a little more concise, and how it might operate better. Another element that I think would be wonderful is to the degree that we can have any influence on prioritization of expenditures. If we could interject that, I think it could be great.
Thank you. And same question for Tamara Stramel. In your opinion, what are the most significant issues that the Pierce County Charter must address in the next 2 years?
Yeah, I think that first and foremost, I think the charter review process will be, 6 months of that 2 years. And so I think transparency and public comment during the charter review process would be my number one priority for that 2 years, since 6 months will be spent on the charter review. But I would really like us to look at acknowledging that technology has changed quite a bit since 1980 when the charter was written. There are moments in the charter right now where it still is, it feels outdated, particularly maybe to someone who is younger, regarding videotaping or hybrid options of all the public meetings and where those could be stored, as opposed to like public television. So I would really like us to, look at how technology has changed and how that affects information flow and timing within many of the processes outlined within the charter. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. Same question for Kelsey Barrans. In your opinion, what are the most significant issues that the Pierce County Charter must address in the next 2 years?
Thank you for that question. So similarly to Tamara, I think the biggest piece for me is making sure that the voices of the folks in the district are being heard as a part of this process, because it shouldn't necessarily just be what I believe needs to change. It should be what the folks of the district as a whole believe needs to be changed or to stay the same. I think that's one of the other pieces that I think is important to think about, that change is helpful, but we also do have some really important components to the charter, and making sure that we are not always just looking at what needs to be changed. However, I think one of the pieces that I would really like us to look at is also how our different officials within the government are brought into their positions, not because of having a specific feeling one way or another how they should go, but just actually having that dialogue, having that conversation, and being intentional about how our government is operating. That is what I think is really crucial in this process.
Thank you. Question 2, we will start with Nathaniel Downs. Nathaniel, question 2 is, what qualifications do you have for this position, and how does that affect your vision for the Charter Review Commission?
Well, I've been an executive with a video game company now for 13 years. Well, it'll be 13 years next month, actually. Beyond that, I worked a news desk for 8 years. During that time, I've wrote 2 books, one of which was a manual on U.S. Constitution interpretations, because a friend of mine was a college professor and needed a book like that for his class, so I wrote it for him. And it got me, well, enjoying dealing with charters, constitutions, and other framework documents. I helped write the document that ran my company for, 13 years next month. So, on top of that, I've got time, and I've spent 2 months reviewing the charter already. So, got a little bit of groundwork going.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Sharon, Hanek, same question. What qualifications do you have for this position, and how does that affect your vision for the Charter Review Commission?
I think to start with, I am a CPA. So by nature, I'm always looking for accountability, in this sense, accountability to the citizens of Pierce County. And always looking, that also kind of leads me to transparency and understanding how things work. That also brings me with a financial background that I can help to make those financial decisions that might come up. And more important, though, I have lived in Pierce County for 30 years, raised my children here, have been involved in school activities. So I understand the life of the citizens of Pierce County. I'm a grandmother now, raising the next generation. I also was on the Planning Commission and sitting on the Birth to 25 Commission. What that does is gives me an understanding of the role of government into the lives of people, whether it's building your house, financing your business, or just raising your children. And I believe that helps. Being in the 2016 Charter Review Commission has helped me to understand a lot about the process itself and the needs of how we have to rapidly work through the process, because we do only have 6 months and it's a lot of work. And
Thank you,
I think
Sharon.
that
That's time. Thank you. Same question for Jerome O'Leary. What qualifications do you have for this position, and how does that affect your vision for the Charter Review Commission?
Thank you. In my profession, I have dealt with many complex documents, had to negotiate with folks that had different desires, but find a way to bring them together on issues that built consensus and left people walking away feeling like they each got something out of the negotiation and the deal was a win-win. And I feel that that is paramount. I also believe that through my years of my professional life, I have learned how to listen. And what I'm excited about is hearing the different opinions and viewpoints of the various commission people as they come to the table. I've knocked on over 1,000 doors. We've attended many community functions, and all of this has given me a great voice of the people. And that's where I think my strengths would lie.
Thank you, Jerome. Same question for Tamara Stramel. What qualifications do you have for this position, and how does that affect your vision for the Charter Review Commission?
Yeah, I have definitely been telling people at the doors that while I wish I was a constitutional lawyer, I am not. What I am is someone who does like to find compromise. Before this decade of being a stay-at-home mom, I worked with at-risk youth, where our job was really to teach kids how to work through compromise, how to find solutions with their peers, and how to have those hard conversations. Spent years being the adult teaching kids to do that. So it really taught me to be a role model myself and has affected everything I do. And so I hope to bring those skills of compromise and listening to it. And then I do also, yes, have the time, which I know is not a qualification per se, but this is a volunteer commitment, and having the time to sign up for a kind of an undisclosed time commitment is rare, I think, in these days. And I am available and here and excited to talk charter. Thanks.
Thank you, Tamara. Kelsey Barrans, same question. What qualifications do you have for this position, and how does that affect your vision for the Charter Review Commission?
Thank you for that question. So one of the pieces that I believe I bring to this process is that I've lived in several different parts of District 1, and right now actually currently live in a very rural part of District 1. And so bringing that perspective of what it's like not necessarily to live in a neighborhood, even though that is a wonderful place to live, but to live out where access to resources and support is actually a lot more challenging, and what it might mean to have a charter that takes that into more of an account. Also, in my job every day as a social worker, what I do is help people find a pathway between where they are and where they want to be. And as my role currently at the college, I sit on several statewide different commissions and committees where we are trying to balance completely separate ideas of what needs to happen to be able to move something forward, and then finding that pathway between what one institution might need or another so that we can all come through it and have the best outcome for our students possible.
Thank you, Kelsey. Steve McCoy, same question. What qualifications do you have for this position, and how does that affect your vision for the Charter Review Commission?
Well, my background is I've been in the measurement sciences, particularly electronic test equipment, for a number of years. And so to me, I spent my career learning about new things and kind of adapting to new and changing technologies. In the past 5 years, I've been working with local governments from the school boards, city councils, all the way up to state and federal levels, trying to understand first how our government works and then how to engage effectively into that level of government to begin to present the ideas and thoughts as citizens of how we can best operate and what perhaps new policies might be introduced. And so that's what I would bring to the charter is learning, listening, and beginning to bring policies that represent the best interests of the citizens.
Thank you, Steve. We're going to move to question 3. And we will start with Sharon Hanek. What role does the charter review have in addressing the issue of affordable housing and the housing shortage for lower and middle income families in Pierce County? Sharon?
I think the role itself would be more of an oversight and more of guidelines. We have the opportunity in one of the sections, possibly section 4, to be able to look at the financial administration, looking at budgets. It's not dictating exactly the budget, it's more of the budget process. But through that, we can set goals and parameters and priorities. And that would be where I believe we could set priorities to serve the community and the needs of the community. Another possibility might be through the personnel system, where we might be able to dictate a little bit of what kind of personnel we might need to lead certain departments or certain administration of things like affordable housing and maybe a certain department to just oversight that. I think those are two ways potentially that we can do that within the guideline and the spirit of this being a document, not a line by line set of rules and laws. And that can help.
Thank you, Sharon. Jerome O'Leary, same question. What role does the charter review have in addressing the issue of affordable housing and the housing shortage for lower and middle income families in Pierce County?
Well, I think this is a huge issue, and it's unfortunately not just regulated to Pierce County, but it's statewide and nationwide. Statewide, we're short 250,000 homes in this state alone, and over 4 million nationwide, based on statistics that I've read. That said, I think, much like Sharon mentioned, the biggest impact we might be able to have is some kind of priority given to the budget, and how there might be some form of subsidy. Unfortunately, the document doesn't directly address zoning and some of those challenges, but I think we could have some influence in other areas, and that's what I try to focus on. And again, listening to other ideas and trying to come up with a plan that we can submit for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. Tamara Stramel, same question. What role does the charter review have in addressing the issue of affordable housing and the housing shortage for lower and middle income families in Pierce County?
I would really also like to echo what fellow candidates have said tonight, that the charter does not legislate. It is really the overarching rules of how the legislation comes to be. So I feel like directly impacting the housing crisis, while really quite, I think, demonstratively bad in Pierce County for people that are younger and middle class. I struggle to figure out exactly how we will do that, which is why I was also excited to learn that there would be a lawyer to kind of help us walk through this idea as we are able to bring bigger concerns within the budget. And so, yeah, I wish that off the top of my mind, I had a better answer to that, but I want people to know that I am aware of this concern. I feel like it is something that directly affects a lot of school-aged peers that my children go to school with, and I would do anything that the lawyer can recommend that we do to fix it. So, thanks.
Thank you, Tamara. Same question, Kelsey Barrans. What role does the charter review have in addressing the issue of affordable housing and the housing shortage for lower and middle income families in Pierce County?
So, as someone who every day helps people try to find affordable housing so that they can continue their education, so that their families can take that next step into having the lives that are actually going to be financially supportive for their families, that it is a significant crisis that I don't think anyone could disagree with. But also, the charter is not meant to be a document that is that level of instructive towards the county government. It is meant to help frame the ways that that government is structured so that the voice of the people can be represented in that government. And so my goal would be to just ensure that as much of that voice is present in the charter, to ensure that we really are meeting the needs of the community, but it's not something outside of being able to potentially look at the budget or something like that that the charter can directly address.
Thank you, Kelsey. Same question for Steve McCoy. What role does the charter review have in addressing the issue of affordable housing and the housing shortage for lower and middle income families in Pierce County?
As has already been stated, the charter it doesn't legislate. That's the responsibility of the council. I think what Sharon said about looking at some of the financing and such, that might be a way, but that certainly the housing is an issue because the prices are inhibitive for young people to get to find a home. So it would be something that we could certainly explore and look at, and it sounds like there's a lot of interest here because the housing issue is significant for our county, and we're going to need to be able to bring young families into the county if we want to maintain the living situation and the enjoyment of the county that we've had for many years.
Thank you, Steve. Nathaniel Downs, same question. What role does the charter review have in addressing the issue of affordable housing and the housing shortage for lower and middle income families in Pierce County?
Something that you can do with the charter is add in guidance in an area, such as we have sections on purchasing contracts, bonds. We have sections on public domain, eminent domain. You can't, which doesn't put anything legal out there, but gives guidelines to show what we want the law to look like. We can certainly do something like that, like say we would like to see X number of construction to be lower or starter housing. That's certainly within something we can do. We can't force it, but we can at least, give a friendly nudge in that direction.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Before we continue with questions, I wanted to remind the audience that we will take audience questions. Please send any questions that we can review to the phone number 530-647-6482. Thank you. Question 4. We will start with Jerome O'Leary. What is your record of public service?
Well, thank you. As I stated earlier, I really believe in service, and I have served on several boards at the Pierce County level, and also boards within my community. I mentioned those earlier. I'm happy to mention them again, but my record of service, I think, is consistent throughout my time as an adult here in Pierce County, and serving on the Conservation Futures Board, the Transportation Commission, chairing the Ag Commission, now on the Planning Commission. I'm just really dedicated trying to make this county better and make it reflect the needs of our citizens as we move forward. I want the opportunities that I've enjoyed to be here for the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. Same question, Tamara Stramel. What is your record of public service?
Yeah, I think that my first public service thing that I did was I was part of the FRG, the Family Readiness Group for the USS Shoe. When my husband was deployed, we had lost that FRG. And if you are a military family member, you realize how important it is to have that liaison group that kind of connects the ship. And so that was really when I started getting involved in non-paid work, and I just keep picking up things. Most recently, I'm very proud that I was appointed onto this Sumner Bonnie Lake Builds Oversight Committee. I was our field organizer last year for that bond, the largest bond in Washington state history that passed at 64%. And I felt like I owed it to the voters that I talked to follow through on the process to see how well we are following through on those promises we made at the build or for the bond. So I'm excited to do that work, and yeah, excited to be here too. I keep saying that, but I really do enjoy talking about civics. It's my hobby. It's my favorite way to spend my time. So thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. Same question, Kelsey Barrans, what is your record of public service?
Thank you. So, public service is my entire life. It is what I do for work every single day. It is how I spend my time on the weekends. Being engaged in community-based groups is how I spend my time because I believe that being connected, being a community that is engaged, is the way that we create support networks that help all of our citizens succeed and enjoy all of what there is to enjoy in Pierce County. And so specifically, I've been a member of Seroptimus International of Auburn for several years. I sit on multiple different committees at the community college level to figure out how to best serve our students, and I'm specifically part of the group that is creating a post-secondary basic needs statewide committee. And so I'm very, very engaged with finding ways to support all members of our community, and that is what I get to do every day.
Thank you, Kelsey. Same question for Steve McCoy. What is your record of public service?
So officially, I haven't done anything like Jerome has done. My public service has been through the faith-based institutions that I've been a part of all my life here in Bonnie Lake, Lake Tapps area. And so I work with them. I work with people. I work with neighbors, in very much an unorganized way, if you will, and just trying to be a neighbor, which I think is it's the foundational component of who we are as a society, and Bonnie Lake has grew up that way. So that's my experience.
Thank you, Steve. Same question, Nathaniel Downs. What is your record of public service?
Well, I wish I could say that my public service began out of altruism, but it began out of my father running for office when I was 8. He wanted to impress on me the importance of service, so he signed me up for a lot of things. And I took to them, running foodstuffs to the elderly community as part of faith-based charities. I helped pick up litter along the highway. I helped clean up parks. And by the time I was in my teens, it was just second habit. I was in Boy Scouts, ended up helping several campaigns for other people. Once I moved out here, honestly, I did not get as many opportunities because I live in an unincorporated area, so I can't go to the town councils and sign up for, say, architecture review or art review, such as in Puyallup, or building review over in Pawnee Lake. Wish I could, but unfortunately, South Hill doesn't really have that. So, but that's where I started.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Same question, Sharon. Hanek, what is your record of public service?
I think I'm probably a little older than some of the folks on here. So my public service kind of went on with my life in that before I was married and I was a professional, just unmarried CPA, and I was a speakers bureau for the Small Business Association and also for Children's Hospital. But then once I had kids, I got involved with things with children and schools. So I was that PTA mom in every school that I've ever been to. I was also on strategic planning committees. Before I moved to Pierce County, I was in Kent. So Kent School District Planning Strategic Committees, also the White River School District Strategic Committees. And then I helped out in Little League. And in almost every role I had, I became the treasurer just because I'm an accountant. So I was the treasurer of Little League, Chinook Little League for many years. As time went on and my kids grew up, then I went into government roles such as the Redistricting Commission and other government commissions and committees and boards. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. For question 5, we are going to start with Tamara Stramel. The question is, the charter currently specifies which Pierce County officials are elected and which are appointed. Does the county currently have some appointed positions that might be better elected, or vice versa, some elected positions that might be better appointed?
I feel like this has been an issue that has been brought up to me by numerous people at doors, particularly around the Pierce County Sheriff and whether or not an election or an appointment makes sense in that position. Um, and at this point, I would say that I am all ears for the feedback. Primarily, my core belief is that it is better for us to elect people that serve us. I think it is interesting that we get elected to this commission instead of appointed, such in Pierce County. I think it brings a diverse conversation to the board that's needed. So primarily, I want it to be an elected position because that's where my heart lies. The comments that have been brought up to me, though, particularly by people who have served in police departments, are that the sheriff is more of a CEO of a very large multi-million-dollar operation, and the kind of interviewing process that would be involved in an appointment would better serve the residents of Pierce County. So I will still say I'm on the fence on this one and open for people's perspectives because I do think it is an important issue that we should discuss on the commission.
Thank you, Tamara. Same question for Kelsey Barrans. The charter currently specifies which Pierce County election officials are elected and which are appointed. Does the county currently have some appointed positions that might be better elected, or vice versa, some elected positions that might be better appointed?
Thank you for that question. And much like Tamara, is a question that has come up quite a bit in conversation around the charter review. The thing that I continuously come back to is that I want to represent the voices of the folks in the district. So I need to hear from as many people in the district as possible. And while I also enjoy going out and door knocking, there are a lot of voices that we don't hear through that process. And so that is actually where I would want to come from, is what are the folks of the district saying need to happen. I also agree that elections are such a pivotal component of how our system is created. However, I think that doesn't allow for the level of accountability that is often lacking if we have to wait multiple years for someone to be able to have the folks of the district or the county say whether or not they are doing a good job. And so I think actually having some sort of system like an ombudsperson or a way of creating more accountability is what is needed.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelsey. Same question for Steve McCoy. The charter currently specifies which officials are elected and which are appointed. Does the county currently have some appointed positions that might be better elected, or some elected positions that might be better appointed?
I think the fundamental principle you have to look at is the separation of powers, which means that the people elect the positions. We might want to look at some positions and move them from appointed to elected, but I don't think we should look the other way because of once you consolidate power, then corruption and tyranny happens. I mean, that's a fundamental through all history. And so we would want to avoid that in our county if we want to continue having, like I said, a county that serves everybody, all the people, because once you get appointed positions, now that position becomes obligated not to the people, but to the person that appointed them.
Thank you, Steve. Same question, Nathaniel Downs. The charter currently specifies which officials are elected and which are appointed. Does the county currently have some appointed positions that might be better elected, or some elected positions that might be better appointed?
That's definitely something to review. I know I've actually had two different offices that people have emailed me questions about. Sheriff being one, as everybody else has mentioned so far. But the other one was the county, the clerk of the courts. I've had two people email me asking if that should be switched. I need to review and know what they do better, honestly. When it comes to sheriff, I think a lot of the reason people want to switch is because of, as they mentioned, it's a large organization, and having that change over every couple of years is disruptive. But we want citizen review, so maybe something like a county commissioner for the sheriff's department. Maybe want to look into that. There's a couple counties out there that do that. They have a civilian commissioner elected to oversee a appointed sheriff. Maybe we want to look at that. Just an idea.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Same question, Sharon. Hanek. The charter currently specifies which Pierce County officials are elected and which are appointed. Does the county currently have some appointed positions that might be better elected or some elected positions that might be better appointed?
I think that much like many of the candidates before me, the spirit of anybody in that kind of executive position is better off being elected by the people rather than appointed. And so I am also kind of leaning that direction. But I also want to point out that sometimes when you have an appointed position, whoever the group that appoints them may have a narrower focus than the broad citizens. And I only say that because many of the council members come from the urban areas of Tacoma. And yet we have large areas of First District which are rural. And they have a completely different need structure and should have a governance system that really sits to them. You have people in Tacoma that are going to be voting if it's appointed or elected sheriffs, and they get to elect the sheriff. However, they are under Tacoma police force. So I think that the way that you could serve the public is to bring in the broadest number of input, and that is all the citizens of Pierce County, and that would be through an election.
Same question, Jerome O'Leary. The charter currently specifies which officials are elected and which are appointed. Does the county currently have some appointed positions that might be better elected or some elected positions that might be better appointed?
In my conversations with citizens, I call them my front porch conversations together with some of the events that I've attended. Overwhelmingly, people want their voice heard. And this question, like many others have said, has come up specifically. And I think for people as citizens of Pierce County, they want to have the ability to elect their officials. And the accountability of that official then lies with the people. Now, I'd be open to a conversation and hearing different viewpoints to understand a different position, but I feel my job is to bring the voice of the people to the commission. And that is what I have been told. That is what people seem to want, is the ability to cast a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. Just a reminder to our audience, we are taking questions. If anyone in the audience has a question, please text it to 530-647-6482. Question 6, we will start this question with Kelsey Barrans. The charter currently defines processes for initiatives, referendums, and recalls in Pierce County. What is your opinion on maintaining or changing these processes?
So, as with everything, I think that it is most important to get the voices of the community involved in that conversation, because it shouldn't be my voice alone that is the decision maker there. I would be really interested in knowing also from other commission members what they see as the benefits or the downsides of making any of those shifts or changes. So, in all honesty, I don't have a specific viewpoint on what needs to happen, because that's something that I would actually want to know a lot more about, how the folks of District 1 would like to have those processes either shift or stay the same.
Thank you, Kelsey. Same question, Steve McCoy. The charter currently defines processes for initiatives, referendums, and recalls in Pierce County. What is your opinion on maintaining or changing those processes?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think that it's something we should look at. I think that perhaps we should look at, because like Jerome has said, a number of people that I've spoken with feel like their voice isn't heard. I think maybe we should make the barriers a little lower for people to be able to work through these processes and express their opinions, especially if they have an issue with how the Pierce County government's working. So I think that would be worth considering. But I think they're important to keep in place.
Thank you, Steve. Same question, Nathaniel Downs. The charter currently defines processes for initiatives, referendums, and recalls. What is your opinion on maintaining or changing these processes?
Well, the processes for initiatives and referendums and recalls actually is one of the most heavily updated sections where almost none of the original text is there, which means people have had a lot of opinions and have had a lot of chance to update. And honestly, it's given our voters a really good opportunity to make their voices heard. They can set agendas for the county council. They can pass measures for laws they want. They can even recall problematic sheriffs if they're really concerned about them. So I think we've done a pretty good job in this case. Obviously, we can review it, but it's one area that I think people have already done a lot of review on already. So.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Sharon, Hanek, same question. The charter currently defines processes for initiatives, referendums, and recalls in Pierce County. What is your opinion on maintaining or changing these processes?
Pierce County has grown quite a bit over the years, and we have a rule of 10% for initiatives, 5% for referendums. The number of signatures that need to be gotten, is that the right word, is high because the state is at 8% and 4%. So one of the things we tried to do 10 years ago was to change it to match state laws. And that's something that I think we need to review again, is how many signatures do we really get? Is 10% really a fitting number for the number of the population that we have today? Another concern is they have these dates like 10 days before this and 21 days before that. And some of the days, though, they don't clarify. Do you include weekends? Do you not include weekends? And so some of those types of verbiage could also have more clarity to it to guide whoever wants to run the next initiative and referendum.
Thank you, Sharon. Same question, Jerome O'Leary. The charter currently defines the processes for initiatives, referendums, and recalls in Pierce County. What is your opinion on maintaining or changing these processes?
I think this is something that constantly needs to be looked at, especially when we're looking at a 10-year cycle for reviewing this document. Our growth and advancement of our society is constantly moving, and it's moving faster, it seems, every year. A decade's a long time. So my opinion is that this is a section that we should allocate plenty of time for, to address and look at the varying issues within it. I think it's extremely important.
Thank you, Jerome. Same question, Tamara Stramel. The charter currently defines processes for initiatives, referendums, and recalls in Pierce County. What is your opinion on maintaining or changing these processes?
Really does favor citizen involvement in our government. I think that all three of these are excellent to be included. I think that we could look at some of the specifications around maybe particularly the recall and percentages, whether or not they mean 10% in just district-wide or county-wide all the time, or do we mean that it needs to meet the 10% threshold in each county council district? But overall, I think that, kind of like Nathaniel said, this section's been looked at a lot. And I think a lot of improvements have been made in it. And so I think that there are other things higher on the list for us to hit first. But if it does come down, I think just adding some specification details so it's clear for both council and citizens when they want to take these processes up.
Thank you, Tamara. Now we will go away from questions and more towards closing statements for the candidates. We'll do this in reverse order from the opening statements for 1 minute each. First, for position 3, Tamara Stramel, your closing statement, please.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. I really appreciated hearing from all the other all the other candidates here. I think that this is a really fun and exciting process to bring 21 people throughout our district. As we've said, we have a very diverse district, both in geographic and in population. And so I think that if we're doing this right, there's going to be a lot of different voices at the table when we get together in January. So I looked forward to hopefully being one of them. But overall, I hope to be very involved in the process, whether or not I'm elected, to see how it goes. Being as this is my first county charter process here in Pierce County, I'm excited to follow it all the way through. And yes, I've been told I should always say my name at the end. So Tamara Stramel, running in Council District 1, Position 3, and my website's together with Tamara. So check that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerome O'Leary, your closing statement, please.
Well, again, thank you for having us and the great questions. I hope that we will have that same kind of interaction at the commission. And I certainly hope that I am one of the people sitting at the table. I've been, as I said, fortunate to have a lot of the front porch conversations that I talked about. And families, folks with families at home, they're concerned about schools and safety. Folks that are a little older, they're concerned with transportation and taxes. And as I say, everyone seems to overwhelmingly want to make sure their voice is heard. So, you know, my goal, if elected, is to bring that information to the table. And while we can't control those issues specifically, I think having that lens of consideration as the issues come up would be really important and reflective of the citizens' needs. And that would be my goal. And again, Jerome O'Leary, running for Charter Review Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. Now for position 2, Sharon Hanek, your closing statement, please.
10 years ago, I had the honor of serving for District 1 as on the Charter Review Commission. And I'm hoping to, again, bring experience, accountability, and understanding and transparency to the citizens of this district. I hope to be your voice on the commission as I was 10 years ago. So please just re-elect Sharon Hanek to the Charter Review Commission. And I hope to be serving with many of you on this call. And my dog is whining. I don't know if you hear her. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathaniel Downs, your closing statement, please.
When I moved to Washington State for my wife's job out here when she relocated, we spent a lot of time picking where to live, and we chose District 1. It was the most like where I grew up in New Hampshire. Nice, nice, not well built up, good people, friendly neighbors, and most of all, people that, were engaged with the government, with each other. And I want to see our charter updated to reflect the way Pierce County's been growing up. I've been here for 11 years, and it's remarkable the amount of changes I've seen in that amount of time. And I've seen photos from 20, 30, 40 years ago, and I couldn't recognize it anymore if I was that amount of time. Anyways, so I just want to see us grow up. I want to see us go boldly into the future. And my name is Nathaniel Downs. I'm running for Charter Review 1, 2.
2. Thank you. And now for position 1, your closing statement, please, Steve McCoy.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity tonight. So, as I said earlier, I grew up, spent my life here in Pierce County, and I think the charter provides the foundational principles for us to collaborate and cooperate as citizens so that everybody, each and every one of us, have an opportunity to live, to flourish, to thrive in the community here in Pierce County, wherever we choose to live, whether it's a city in Tacoma or whether it's a rural area outside in Greenwater or someplace, wherever we choose. So I hope to be able to help maintain what I've enjoyed and provide the same experience for a number of other people that follow me. Again, Steve McCoy, District 1, Position 1. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. And your closing statement, please, Kelsey Barrans.
So I just want to start by saying thank you to the League of Women Voters for having us all here tonight. It's such an important part of this process to have the larger community understand more about the charter. That's the thing that I have run into over and over again is folks not knowing about the charter review process. So being able to engage community in that conversation has been the highlight of this year for me, in all honesty. I also just want to mention that my whole life is about service, service to and with community, and I would really love the opportunity to be of service to the community in this commission. So I hope that folks will vote for me as the District 1, Position 1 representative on the Pierce County Charter Review Commission.
Thank you. As we wrap up, we want to say thank you very much to the candidates for participating in this forum and to the audience for watching. The candidates, once again, for Pierce County Charter Review Commission positions are Position 1, Kelsey Barrans, Steve McCoy. Position 2, Nathaniel Downs, Sharon Hanek. Position 3, Jerome O'Leary, Tamara Stramel. Be sure to vote on or before November 4th. Before you vote, go to votewa.org, votewa.org, to check your voter registration or to register if you're not yet registered. This site and the Standard Voters Guide identify ballot issues and candidate information specific to your own voting precinct. We encourage everyone to use these resources. You will find our other candidate forums and a link to the recording of this forum at our website, lwvtpc.org, elections/voting. That's lwvtpc.org. Select the option elections/voting on the main page. I would like to say thank you to the candidates, the timekeeper, the question moderator, and the Zoom moderator, and to you, our audience, for watching. Thank you.